Welcome everybody to another brand new episode of the Trans Lesson Plan, your go-to podcast for transgender history. I am your host, Mari, as always. And today we have another great episode for you. I want to first welcome our returning listeners. If you are returning, thank you so much for continuing to support this podcast. If you are new, of course, welcome. I hope that this episode today gets you a little bit more insight, a little bit more excitement to check out the other episodes that are also available now on whatever streaming platform that you're currently using to, take a chance. If you got a couple more hours in your day to check them out and listen to them, greatly appreciate it. Like I said, we keep our podcast very concise yet comprehensive, no more than about 10 to 20 minutes of your time. So I'm hoping that you got enough time to knock out the rest of these episodes from season 1 and also the first half of season 2. So, to go ahead and get into today's content. Today's content is going to be about how doctors treated LGBTQ plus people, a troubled history back from 1899 to 1920. So in today's episode, we're going to be embarking on a journey through time, a pivotal period in medical history, significantly from 1899 to 1920, and examine its profound impact on the LGBTQ plus community with a particular focus on the transgender community, because this is the Trans Lesson Plan. To get into it, the late 19th and early 20th centuries were a time of remarkable medical advancement. From the discovery of X-rays to the development of the germ theory of disease, this period was marked by breakthroughs that shaped modern medicine. However, these advancements were not always beneficial for all. The LGBTQ plus community in particular experienced a different reality, one marked by misunderstanding and mistreatment. During this time, societal norms and prejudice heavily influenced the medical profession. Many physicians, despite their scientific training, pathologized homosexuality and transgender identities. Instead of recognizing these identities as natural variations of human experience, they erroneously classified as mental illness. Now, for those who do not know, the DSM-5, DSM standing for Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, actually list gender dysphoria as a mental illness. So sometimes, depending on who you go to as your physician, will not require you to first get diagnosed with gender dysphoria before you can get any type of, whether that be hormone replacement therapy and or gender reassignment surgery. But a lot of places do require that still in order for you to get both of those treatments. So for me personally, as my journey real quick, I had to get diagnosed with gender dysphoria first before I was able to get my top surgery. Now, the reason why I also had to get diagnosed is so that my insurance could pay for it and I didn't have to take anything out of pocket. So it's kind of like a catch-22 in a way. It's like a pro and a con. Me having to go through a couple different sessions with a psychiatrist to first say hey, Mari does have gender dysphoria. Now you can, continue on with whatever treatment you can to help him. But also too, it's kind of like I said, the insurance will pay for my surgeries if I had got diagnosed with it. So the only thing I don't like about that is that people try to classify, identities and homosexuality as unnatural, and it's not. So classifying it as a mental illness, and still today classified as a mental illness, in my opinion, is very troubling even today. I do my best to not think about that, but I do my research too as well. I read a book called The Pediatric Gender Identity, which is a medical book that talks about the gender affirming care for transgender and gender diverse youth. It's used to kind of help provide better practices and a framework to address those core clinical issues for young children who are going through the process of understanding their gender identity just a little bit more. So I think it's interesting that still today that they classify that as a mental illness, and in reality it's just natural variations, like they said, of human experiences. So I kind of just want to touch on that. Kind of like a little spiel, but not really necessary, but I just wanted to mention that. One of the most notorious examples of this was the invention of the term transvestism by German sexologist Magnus Hirschfeld in 1910. Hirschfeld, a pioneer in advocating for sexual minority rights, intended to provide scientific understanding of transgender identities. However, the introduction of this term, my apologies, inadvertently led to the stigmatization and pathologization of the transgender community, effectively reinforcing harmful stereotypes that already existed. Medical treatments for transgender individuals during this time were often more harmful than curative. Some were subjected to conversion therapies, including hypnosis and electrocompulsive therapy, and misguided attempts to cure their identities. Others were denied the medical care they needed to transition and live authentically, which is a basic human right that was not recognized. The repercussions of these practices were far from benign. They were not only perpetrated harmful stereotypes, but also inflicted significant emotional and physical harm to many transgender individuals. Even more insidiously, they laid the groundwork for continuing discrimination and stigma in medical settings, effects which are still felt by the transgender community today. Now, as we reflect on the troubled history, it is crucial to acknowledge the progress that has been made. Now, today, many medical associations and health professionals recognize and affirm gender identities, and we have came a long way from the time when being transgender was considered a mental illness. However, it's equally important to confront the ongoing challenges, discrimination, bias, and obviously the lack of understanding that still persists in healthcare settings. Now, like they said today, we have professionals, healthcare professionals, who are willing to take LGBTQ plus patients. Some of these people also have their own practices where strictly all LGBTQ plus, which I highly recommend checking out. There's a website that I use, but this is for anybody who's female to male. I will see if I can find a resource for male to female or those who consider themselves to be non-binary, of course, that provides you with whether it's country, state, etc. of LGBTQ plus or LGBTQ plus friendly healthcare professionals who are willing to help you with your transition. Just wanted to provide that because I used it for myself. It's a great resource. I'm not sure who created it. I might have to look that up. But whoever created that site helped me get to where I am today. So I greatly appreciate them for that. So the journey towards a future where all individuals, regardless of their gender identity, are treated with dignity and respect in healthcare settings are far from over. And as we work towards that future, let's remember the lessons from our past and strive to ensure that such mistreatment is never repeated. Now, like I said, I always like to do some takeaways from the episode. So let's start with the first one, right? The period from the late 19th to early 20th centuries marked a time of remarkable medical advancement, like I said. And however, though, this era was also characterized by misunderstanding and mistreatment of the LGBTQ plus community. So in particular, transgender individuals faced more significant challenges and discrimination, underscoring the stark difference between their experiences and the broader societal progress in medicine. During this time, societal norms and prejudice heavily influenced the medical profession. And this influence led physicians to pathologize homosexuality and transgender identities rather than recognizing them as natural variations of human experience. And this was a clear reflection of how societal bias could permeate the scientific and medical fields, leading to harmful misinterpretations. Another one is that obviously the notable stance, which was the introduction of the term transvestism, which isn't being used today, was intended to provide some scientific understanding of the transgender identities. And this term didn't really help our community. It actually served as an unfortunate example of how even well-intentioned efforts could harm when influenced by societal bias. Now, that's a big one for me. I've done my research on Magnus before, and I know Magnus' work was truly groundbreaking. Like Magnus has a lot of groundbreaking things that if you haven't read about Magnus Hirschfeld, please do so. Especially if you're someone who is really big in, understanding the transgender community from beginning of time. Magnus did everything he possibly could to help advocate for us in the medical field. And like they said in this in the research that I did, it still served as an example that actually hurt us, but not because of Magnus's effort. It's just societal bias, right? It's just that they didn't want us to get the treatments that we needed in order for us to live our authentic selves. So, rest in peace to Magnus, because like I said, I know and I've read his work. I understood exactly everything that he tried to do to help us out. And it helped still today, but at that time, it just didn't help during that time period, I also want to talk about how medical treatments for transgender individuals during this time period often caused more harm than good. Many were obviously subjected to harmful practices, like I said, conversion therapies, denial of medical care as well. And it violated our basic human rights, and demonstrating that the profound consequences of misunderstanding and bias in the actual medical field. The impact of these practices was far-reaching, long-lasting, but they not only perpetrated harmful stereotypes, but also caused significant emotional, physical harm too as well. So I just want to talk about how that's still being felt today. And like I said, we've made progress over the years. I don't want to say that we haven't made progress. Like I said, obviously there's a lot of, like I said, LGBTQ plus people in the medical field, but like I said, professions and professionals who are willing to also take on LGBTQ plus clients as well. So we're making progress. Like I said, this episode is really just to talk about how it was troubled back in the day. So it sounds like this podcast is really all the sad parts of it, but it's part of our history too as well. And I also want to make sure that we note in that. So in conclusion, the journey towards a future where individuals, regardless of their gender identity, are treated with dignity and respect in healthcare settings is obviously far from over. The lessons from our past serve as a stark reminder of the harms of discrimination and misunderstandings. And as we strive towards a future of inclusion and respect, it is critical that such mistreatment is never repeated, like I said. So I want you all to take in the reflecting of the troubled history of medical treatment of the LGBTQ plus community and have this provide us with valuable insights and lessons. It reminds us of the importance of challenging societal bias, advocating for equality, and ensuring that all individuals receive the respect and medical care that they deserve. And I want you all to take that into account as we go into more and more of these small things that we see today, bills that are passed and things like that, and how it's impacting the LGBTQ plus community and also how it's impacting the transgender community as well. Like I said, we're all one big community, but it's transgender. Sometimes I gotta have my small little pieces in there. But we have a lot of work to do. Happy with the progress, but we still have a lot of things that we have to work on as a society to ensure that everyone gets the proper care that they need in order for themselves to live authentically. So with that, that's it for this episode. We hope that this journey through this time has offered some insights into the troubled history of medical treatment of the LGBTQ plus community. Stay tuned, obviously, for more episodes regarding transgender history and how it impacts our society today. As always, you can follow us on social media at the Trans Lesson Plan. No asterisks in the trans because I can't put asterisks in trans on Instagram. So you can check us out there. Also, if you want to follow me, the host, you can follow me at mariiiwrld. That is MAR3ISWRLD. I also put both of these links into the description. I'm getting our website together, actually. So for those who want to check out the Trans Lesson Plan, it will be coming very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. And also, too, we also have these episodes bi-weekly. So I will have another episode ready for you all very, very soon. So please stay tuned for that. And with that, I appreciate you all for coming out today and listening to the Transgender Plan, your go-to podcast for transgender history. As always, subscribe. Please donate if you possibly can. Like I said, our donations go to a Black trans-owned nonprofit organization. And also, too, if you are a listener who wants to get more insights in First Dibs, don't forget to donate. Don't forget to sign up for that. I'm sorry, that's all I want to say. Don't forget to sign up for that. You get, never before seen episodes and early access to episodes as well. So, you can choose what you want. You don't have to choose big numbers. Choose whatever fits best your budget. And with that, I appreciate y'all for coming out and thank you all for listening to the Transfer Plan today. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. See you next time.